What exactly is a fractional CTO, and what is it your company actually needs? The term gets used really loosely, and getting it wrong is expensive. Some people picture a part-time coder, others think it's just a consultant who writes a report and leaves. Neither is right. A fractional CTO is a senior tech executive on point for three things inside your company: your tech strategy, the leadership of your technical team, and the results that strategy deliver, all on a part-time basis instead of a full-time salary. In the next few minutes, I'll give you a clear definition, the critical difference between a fractional CTO and the consultant or dev shop you might hire instead, exactly what they own, when full-time stops making sense, and what companies actually need. Let's get into it. Let's start with a clean definition. A fractional CTO is an experienced senior technology leader, a chief technology officer, who works with your company part-time on an ongoing rather than as a full-time employee. So instead of a full-time CTO at $250,000 or more plus equity and benefits, you bring in that same caliber of leadership for, say, a day or two a week, exactly as much as your stage requires. The crucial word here is leader. A fractional CTO is not a senior developer you've rented to write code faster. They operate at the executive level, setting the technology vision, making the high-stakes architecture and the build versus buy decisions, leading the engineers, and owning whether the technology delivers on business goals. They're embedded in your leadership team, a company email, in your stand-ups and strategy meetings, just on a part-time schedule. And one clarification that trips people up. Fractional does not mean junior, and it certainly does not mean temporary. A fractional CTO is typically someone who has already been in a full-time CTO role, choosing to apply that hard-won experience across several companies instead of one. A seasoned executive on a permanent part-time basis and not a contractor who's just passing through. Now that distinction matters most because this is where companies waste the most money. A fractional CTO is not a consultant and it is not a dev agency. A tech consultant assesses your situation, hands you recommendations, a strategy document, and audit a roadmap, then leaves the execution to you. Valuable input, but you're on your own to build it and lead the team. A dev agency is the exact opposite. They'll execute, they'll write code, they'll ship features, but they're an external vendor building what you tell them to build. They don't own your strategy, they don't lead your engineers, and critically, they have no incentive to tell you when you're building the wrong thing. Fractional CTO sits in a different seat. They own the strategy like a consultant would, and the execution team like an in-house leader would, but embedded, accountable, and on your side of the table. So a simple way to hold it: a consultant advises and leads, an agency executes from the outside, and a fractional CTO leads from the inside. That last part, leads from the inside, is the whole difference, and it's what you're actually paying for. And here's why this matters so much in tech. Bad tech decisions are expensive and can be really slow and hard to reverse. An agency building the wrong architecture or a report that just sits on a shelf can cost you a year that you can't get back. A fractional CTO's job is to make sure that doesn't happen because they own the outcome and not just their small slice of it. So let's get specific about what a fractional CTO is on point for. It comes down to three things. The first is your strategy. They own your tech roadmap, what to build, what to buy, which platform to standardize on, how to handle tech debt, how to architect systems that scale instead of collapsing under growth. To make it concrete, it's the difference between a founder who gets talked into a custom platform they'll never be able to maintain and a fractional CTO who says, no. We can just use these off-the-shelf tools now, build custom only when we've proven we need to. That one decision can save you a year of engineering and hundreds of thousands of dollars. The second is leadership. They lead your technical team, mentoring developers, setting engineering standards, running technical hiring, making the hard personnel costs. If you have engineers but no senior leader above them, they're working hard with no direction. The fractional CTO is that direction. They sit in the C-suite, translating technology into business terms your leadership, and more importantly, your investors can understand. And the third is results. A fractional CTO is accountable for outcomes, not activity. Did the platform ship? Does it scale? Is it secure? Did the technology move the business forward? They tie themselves to the result the same way a full-time CTO would. Strategy, leadership, results. If someone is only doing one of these, just advising or just coding, they're not a fractional CTO. So why isn't full-time tech leadership the automatic default? For a huge range of companies, it's an expensive mismatch. Think about a company in the early or growth stage, a startup with no technical co-founder, or a business in the $5 to $50 million range. They have real high-stakes tech decisions to make, not 40 hours a week of CTO-level strategic work to fill. So if they hire full-time, that expensive executive ends up doing mid-level engineering work just to justify the salary. That is a terrible use of a $250,000 hire. Or more often, they can't afford or attract a great full-time CTO at all. So they limp along with no senior technical leadership, and they're starting to make costly architecture mistakes they don't even know they're making. Fractional model solves both. Top-tier technology leadership applied exactly at the moments of highest leverage. The big architecture decisions, the platform scaling, the technical hiring, without the full-time cost. The value isn't in the hours. It's in the judgment applied at the right moments. For most companies under a certain size, part-time senior judgment beats mid-level performance every single time. And this is even more true now with AI reshaping how software gets built. A good fractional CTO knows which AI tools genuinely accelerate engineering and which are hype, and how to adopt them without creating a security nightmare. That's a fast-moving judgment call where senior experience pays for itself. So which companies actually need one? A few clear signals. The first and most common: you're a non-technical founder with a product to build and no technical co-founder. You need someone senior to own technology decisions, lead the build, but you can't give away co-founder equity or afford a full-time CTO. That is the textbook case. The second, you have a development team or an agency, but no one senior steering them. Your engineers are capable, but they're rudderless. Or you're paying an agency with no one on your side who can tell you whether they're doing good work. Fractional CTO becomes that technical authority. And the third, you're scaling fast and your technology is straining. The platform that has worked at 100 users is now buckling under 100,000. You need an architect before it breaks. And the fourth, you're facing a high stakes moment, a major platform migration, a security or a compliance requirement, an AI initiative, or a funding round where investors are scrutinizing your technology and running technical due diligence. Who owns your tech strategy is a question you don't want to answer with silence. So if any of those sound like you, a fractional CTO is likely your right next hire. So let's bring it all together. A fractional CTO is a senior tech executive who leads your technology on a part-time basis, embedded, not a consultant who advises and leaves, and not an agency that executes from the outside, but a leader who owns strategy, leadership, and results from inside the company. They exist because a full-time CTO level work is more than most growing companies actually have. So you get that top tier judgment at the moments of highest leverage without the full-time cost. And they're the right call when you're a non-technical founder, when your dev team has no senior steering, when you're scaling and straining under pressure, or when you're facing a high stakes moment. That's what a fractional CTO is. And now you can tell whether or not you need one. So now that you know what a fractional CTO, the natural next question in your situation is this: how do I get the right one, and how does it stack up against hiring full-time? I walk through that exact decision in the next video. Should I hire full-time or go fractional CTO? Go watch that one next and you'll know exactly which way to go.